My name is Claire Hume and I'm a drama artist, and these are a few words about my mini residency at Trongate 103. Everyone at Trongate 103. My remit was to make visual art accessible to adults with profound and multiple learning difficulties. The reality, however, was a bit different in that the people that were interested in being part of the project, the take-up, if you like, were people, well, a real mixed bag of people with different abilities. So the emphasis became slightly different. It became more about making visual art accessible to people of all abilities, making visual art accessible to everyone. When I first met with Elizabeth, that's Elizabeth Gibson, director at Projectability, we had a discussion. And it was from that discussion that I had my springboard into how I was going to approach the whole project. And it was from something that Elizabeth had said. And she told me that this group called Aspire, this was a group of adult artists with learning difficulties, they would come into the building along the hallway, take the elevator to the third floor, come into Projectability space, create their art, then get back into the elevator, down along the hallway and out of the building, and they weren't visiting any of the gallery spaces below. So I then knew what I had to do. I had to lead them into the gallery spaces. I had to entice them, make them feel welcome. So I had a shoal of fish pointing the way to the exhibition of still water. I had handprints leading us to the Glasgow Print Studio. And in fact, these handprints looked as if someone had made the way to the space on their hands. And that caused a lot of discussion and merriment as we journeyed towards the space. And for the Theatre of the Self, a very quirky exhibition, we had ever so quirky music leading us in. And now we were in the space, and I didn't want to just abandon them. I wanted to make them feel comfortable. In fact, I wanted to make them feel more than comfortable. I wanted them to feel empowered, to feel that they had a right to be there, that this was their space. They could be free to roam or to stay still, whatever they wanted. And for that, I used different drama exercises that we use as actors to claim the space. So we made ourselves as big as possible, as wide as possible. We made ourselves really steady on our feet, and we really made that space ours. And now we get to the crux of the matter. Now we get to the bit where we really have to make a connection with the art on the walls. We really have to find a way in. And I use something that I use a lot in the work that I do, and that was multi-sensory storytelling. Probably the best way to explain it is to give an example of one of the exhibitions, and that was the Theatre of the Self. And this was really easy to create a story around. In fact, the artist kind of gave it to you on a plate. So I'd created this character called Abigail. And Abigail was very, very house-proud. This reflected the domesticity of the pieces, of the works. And in her house, everything was just so. A place for everything, and everything in its place. Which again reflected the exhibition in that it seemed very well organised. Everything was very considered. Everything was very placed. And Abigail was surrounded by all of her possessions. And all of these possessions were a real reflection of herself. Now, when Abigail slept, her possessions came to life, and we made them dance. And this reflected the movement in the mobiles. And all of the objects that we used a vase, a fan, a dainty cup. And these objects were either in the mobiles, shapes on various pieces of work on the walls, and it all really kind of worked and echoed each other. And la piste de la résistance was the crepe ball that I introduced. Now, one night, as Abigail slept, she discovered this ball inside the vase. And on this ball, there was a label that said self. And she started to unravel this beautiful crepe ball, and layer by layer by layer, we discovered more and more about Abigail. And we were all involved in peeling back the layers. And it didn't matter if the individual didn't understand what this was about. It was just really important that they were part of the process, and that was really part of our goal. And now we come to the final day, the last session. Now, up until now, I have really held everyone really close to me. I've been in charge of the whole thing. I've decided what we go to see, when we see it. I've been asking questions, I've been prompting. But now it was time just to let go and let the group explore the space for themselves. So I'd created all the building blocks. I felt it was in a good place to let go. Still scared to let go, but I was going to do it. And to the sounds of different kinds of music, like classical, pop, jazz, the group explored the space for themselves. And it was a truly delightful experience for me. It's going to go down as one of my special days, because they were really engaging with the work on the walls. They were discussing what they were seeing with each other. They were asking questions. They were making comment. They were perhaps maybe going off on their own to be alone with a piece of work. And it was then that I realised that Trongate 103 was for everyone.